Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner.
Negative emotions that might be, that keep you bottled in on the inside, but then you have to unlock your potential. Unblock and then unlock your potential. Unlock your potential. Now, your potential is what you have the ability to do. All of us, every person who is listening to the sound of my voice right now, whether it's by the internet, whether it's by television, whether it's by radio, if you're listening to my voice right now, you have potential in your life. And let me just say this to you. I have never met a human being who uses 100% of their potential. Never. Now, you know Albert Einstein said that the average person uses about 2% of the potential of their brain. Albert Einstein is credited with using about 10% of his. Now, that ought to tell you something about our potential that is dormant in us. That is dormant in us. I wish that you had an understanding of the value that is on the inside of you. I really wish that you could understand that. A number of years ago, when I saw a revelation in the Word of God that all of the real things of value come out of dirt. God formed man out of the dirt. Where do you find gold? In the dirt. Rubies in the dirt. Emeralds in the dirt. Sapphires in the dirt. Platinum in the dirt. Petroleum in the dirt. It is located in the dirt. You will be surprised what you can find just in the dirt. May I tell you, in 1962, a little company by the name of Intel got a revelation of what I'm talking about right now, of possibilities, potential that was in the dirt. They took sand, and Intel in 1962 started working. They developed microchips that are primarily made of sand. Are you listening? They're primarily made of sand, dirt. And they put intelligence because they had possibility. They unleashed potential. They unlocked potential that was trapped right under their feet. And when God was giving something to Abraham and said, look up and then look down at the grain of sand, they found something in the sand of worth and value. One of the richest places on the globe right now is a place in California called the Silicon Valley. Did you know that silicon is the main ingredient of sand? Are you listening? It is the main ingredient. I cannot tell you the wealth that is there. If you ever even had an understanding of the potential of something that looks dirty to you, of how God can bring value to it. All of our produce comes out of the earth. God talks to earth, and he brings everything out of the earth. And if you will just get a revelation of the riches that are in something that looks so simple, so base, so menial, that there is a worth there. There was potential there. But Intel saw potential in the sand. They saw it in the sand. And when you start learning to look for potential in stuff that may be right under your nose, right under your feet, everyday stuff, there is potential there that is untapped in your life. And when you learn to unlock it, it is not dead, it's sleeping in you. It is sleeping. You got potential to create stuff for music, for poetry, for businesses. You have more potential than what you realize. We don't even have the time to do everything that we have the potential to do. And then secondly, we don't even have the energy to do everything that we have the potential to do. But there are some areas in your life right now where you can tap into your potential that is asleep, that must be recovered. And you ought to go home and look in the mirror and prophesy to your potential and say, come forth. You ought to speak to it like Lazarus. You ought to prophesy to the bones and say, come forth. Can these bones live again? I just declare to you that if you'll put breath and mix it with faith, that somehow God will cause the angels in the four winds, the corners of the earth, to begin to move in conjunction with you, and something will happen if you ever get a revelation of what potential you have that is just sleeping in you. So that's why the second principle is to unlock every door of your greater potential. Unblock, number one, every obstacle inside you. Number two, unlock every door with your greater potential. With your greater potential. And when you begin to look at potential, I want you to distinguish in your own life between I won't and I can't. I won't is about attitude. I can't is about ability. But take a look at your potential and see what is it that I am able to do. What is it that I am able to do? You need to ask God for a revelation of your potential, not somebody else's potential, not what the market needs. Don't ask what are people looking for in the world. Ask yourself, what is it that makes me come alive? Because what the world needs happens to be people who have come alive in a particular area. We don't want to see anybody who's mediocre and unenthusiastic about anything. Just think about the people that are memorable to us. They are people who have come alive in their craft. If it's a Maya Angelou, I mean, it's the way that she's able to put words together. She just has a way with words that just paint a picture. Whenever you think about somebody, if you think about a Patti LaBelle, Patti she doesn't just sing, you know, like and just looking up in the ceiling, you know, with her eyes closed. She is alive and enthusiastic, and I like to see that girl kick her shoe up to the ceiling. You want to see somebody who has come alive. What the world needs are people who have come alive. If you're going to see anybody that's playing basketball, you don't want just a mediocre player. You want somebody who comes alive. And when you see a determined look in their eyes and they become unstoppable on the court or on the field, you want to see somebody who is passionate about whatever it is that they're doing. What the world needs are passionate people, people who have come alive to their potential. And when you come alive to your potential, then the world will turn their attention to you. We didn't want to see Michael Jackson because he was boring and dead. That boy knew how to move. Unlock your potential. Unlock it. Unblock every obstacle within you and unlock every door of your greater potential. Number three, look at verse 40. We get principle number three. They ridiculed him, but when he had put them all outside, he took the father and the mother of the child and those who were with him and entered where the child was lying. Now I want you to notice this. Notice that when he had put them all outside, now here's the third principle. Unstock inventory that's not profitable. Unstock inventory that is not profitable. Unblock every obstacle in you. Unlock every door of your greater potential, but unstock inventory that is not profitable. One of the worst things you can have is in a store is to have inventory that won't move. Because inventory is money. But if you can't sell it, it is unprofitable. You have to unstock unprofitable inventory. Now listen, unprofitable inventory are people who are with you, but they're not really with you. They are people that are with you, but they don't pay to be with you. In other words, they are a liability and not an asset to you. And so you have to unstock yourself, which is to remove inventory that is not profitable. You don't mean anything personal by it. But if nobody is coming in asking for it, don't keep housing dead weight of stuff that won't move. You have to keep inventory that's going to move. You ought to be determined that if somebody's going to be in your house, they need to move. You unstock inventory that does not move because it is unprofitable. It'll cost you. When you have too much money tied up in inventory, it ties up both money and space, and that is unprofitable to you. So just determine what's an asset and what's a liability to you, and then you have to write off unprofitable inventory. Jesus put them out. It didn't say that he didn't love them, but he put them out. There's some people who are unprofitable. I mean, they don't have anything to do with it. You get the picture. Unstock unprofitable inventory. You unstock unprofitable inventory. You have to unstock it. And I want you to notice here in verse 40, they ridiculed him, but when he had put them all outside, he took the father and the mother of the child, those who had something to do with it and who were profitable for it. And then notice, he said, and then those who were with him, he let them stay. There are people who are with you who are not with you. Those Jesus put out. Folks that were with him, but they were not with him, he put them out. But the people who were with him, that referred to Peter, James, and John, his beloved disciples who knew how to pray. They were with him. He let them stay. He let the mama stay. He let the daddy stay. So here was Jesus, mama, daddy, Peter, James, and John. That was the audience. They were people who had stock there, who had vested interest there, whose hearts were connected. They were not merely spectators, they were participators. But the unprofitable people who had nothing to contribute, notice they were sitting there ridiculing. So you have to unblock, you have to unlock, and then you have to unstock. And then what I want you to see. The fourth point is that you have to uncock weapons that harm you through uncontrolled emotions. Uncock weapons that harm through uncontrolled emotions. Weapons that harm through uncontrolled emotions. And so, if you'll notice, there were folks here that in verse 38, he said, then he came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue and saw a tumult and those who wept and wailed loudly. You have to uncock weapons that harm through uncontrolled emotions. Now, when I say uncock weapons, the main one that I'm talking about is that little red thing in your mouth. That little dagger slashes more people. There are more stabbings that happen every day that are literally more injurious than what could be done with a physical knife. I can't tell you the people whose spirits have been killed, murdered, assassinated by somebody stabbing to death with sharp words cutting into a person's heart, messing them up. So uncock weapons that harm through uncontrolled emotions. You get angry, and your emotions will have you to say stuff that you don't even mean. You're just saying it out of anger. Stuff that you'll then later have to come back and apologize over. And here's the reason that I said you have to uncock these weapons that cause harm through uncontrolled emotions. Listen, you cannot educate your emotions.